Hello, I'm Otto, and welcome back to Dyson Sphere Program. So in the last episode, we beat the game, and in this episode, I said I was going to continue playing, and I was going to maybe go 10, 15, maybe upwards of 50 hours into the game and just kind of show, like, what is it possible to do in Dyson Sphere Program. So I did spend a little bit of extra time, and it was about 80 hours extra in the game, so I am pretty far into it, and the kind of goal was I wanted to kind of see, like, what could I do with the area that we created? Like, could I possibly, like, what kind of a maximum capacity could I go for the science area that we created? So I did start researching, and there was a little bit of a back and forth because I did end up creating a blueprint. Should have been somewhere near here. Oh my gosh, I just, like, was right next to it and then just went the wrong direction. Okay, so I did end up creating this blueprint, which is one of the ones that is kind of in addition to some of the blueprints that I had created. This thing is a beast. You can see we have 30 gigawatts of potential power on this planet now. And I would say a good portion of that is from this build. These guys are putting out 188 megawatts per machine. And it's something like, I don't know, 50 something? 54, I think. Anyways, so one of the problems that I was having was, like right out of the get-go, was I had this and it was bringing in the strange annihilation fuel rods, and I was having a little bit of a problem kind of keeping up with the production of the energy. So there was a bit of back and forth between consuming science, using the the antimatter. It was between using the antimatter for science and using the antimatter for fuel. So let me see if I can find the fuel production real quick without lagging out, because the game has been going on for quite a bit of time, and like I said, there is quite a bit of progress. That is not it. Where did I put that? I thought it was kind of close. I guess not. Here we go. So yeah, we needed the antimatter fuel rods, and those need the antimatter. So it was a little bit of a back and forth between trying to collect enough of the antimatter fuel rods and create the strange annihilation fuel rods to keep the blueprint for that going. So that was a bit of a struggle early on, but whatever chances I got, I did increase some of the sciences, until we started getting to the point where it was pretty safe to say that I could leave the sciences on. But I was like, you know what? That's not good enough for me. I don't want to just have this place be the only one that's creating science. I don't want to have to solely rely on this. So I did end up filling out some more of the Dyson sphere. As you can see, I added in some extra slots in the middle. I'm not an artist. I just kind of slapped something together and then coated it with a little bit of a gold color to kind of mimic what the solar sails were doing. And then I kind of added it on the internal side as well. Basically pretty much the same thing that is happening on the outside. I do not have this enabled in game, however, because it is quite a bit laggy with this active. I did actually end up creating some more Dyson spheres though. So the second Dyson sphere that I ended up creating was on a red giant. I still needed the achievement for completing a Dyson sphere around a red giant, so I figured why not. So I just have two swirling shells that are going in opposite directions. They are moving very, very slow, so it's really even hard to tell. They are kind of at max distance. From here, I realized that this was not going to be enough photon generation for what I needed, and I still then created a third Dyson sphere, so this one is now complete. This is around a blue star that is pumping out lots of energy, and yeah, that ultimately got me to the point where I could create enough critical photons and antimatter to supply the amount of science that I wanted. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the upgrades real quick. I did end up going with some research, because the more you're capable of producing and shipping in, the higher the research speed that you can go on the same structures. So I literally, all I did was upgrade these to the self-evolution labs. This is still all of the consumption that I have, and Well, let's just take a look. So if we look in the last minute, I'm currently producing over 20,000 science per minute, and well, I'm sorry, I am consuming more than 20,000 science per minute. I'm capable of producing a little bit more, and I did have some struggles with this, but I wanted to show this first. So you might be thinking, oh, well, I mean, anyone can show that in the last minute. Well, I did actually spend quite a bit of time at over 20,000. So for the last 10 hours, I have 100% been producing more than 20,000 science per minute. So yeah, that means that this thing has been going nonstop, and I am currently at vein utilization. We have 121. So yeah, you can see that my ore loss is very, very small. At this point, I think I get like an extra 2,000 ore for every one that I'll mine up or something like that. And then to even make it even to put a little bit more icing on the cake, we have 1,300% increased mining speed. What that ultimately means is one single mining machine attached to, let's say, 6 nodes is producing more than 2 full belts of materials. So it is actually coming out double stacked if you have at least six nodes. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I am producing a ton of science. So obviously to do that, this is not going to produce that. So I did end up creating 5 more planets. And yeah, let's just take a look at the network of stuff coming in and going out. This is what I like to see. A nice, and I only kept it to this side of the galaxy. I tried not to go past this point. So yeah, lots of shipping, lots of interconnected networking webs and stuff. But yes, I did create a few planets where their sole purpose is just to produce basically the same amount of science that our homeworld is producing here, and then to ship it out. To be able to do that, it was kind of a pain, but I did have to remove the interstellar logistics vessels from the home world. So I removed them from here, and then I also made some room over here for me to bring in some here as well. And I did remove these. So that basically means that whatever other planets, and I have 5 other planets that are producing science, those planets are responsible for sending me the product. So the reason why is because it was just taking too long for them, for instance, this ILS to send a vessel out, collect the white science, and bring it back. It's just better if, of the 5 that are shipping out, if you can just send them to me, because then I don't have to worry about the travel time back, because one of the other ILS on a different planet can then send me some more, and it basically cuts the time in half, even though, yeah, it's technically the same travel time. I get the supplies here twice as fast. So that's a few of what not a few, that's a little bit of what I did. And for the most part, like, I haven't really added too much. Most of what I've done is literally just reusing the same thing that I already have. So I took basically the blueprint here, the polar science blueprint that I had created. I just basically used that and recreated it on another planet and added in the self-evolution labs and made sure everything was correct. And then I just spent some time kind of filling out the rest of the planet. So I just used the production tab. So for instance, let's go to one of these and I can kind of show you what I mean. So these are like my science producing planets, are all pretty much the same planet. They're just all the science cubes. So I can take a look at any one of these and kind of show you what's going on. Now let's do the last 10 minutes. 10 minutes should be fine. Now let's do the last hour, just to make sure that we've kind of collected everything. So all I did really was just looked at this and went, okay, so if I wanted to produce green science, how much of the quantum chips, how much of the graviton lens would I need? And I basically set up what I actually did was I placed the blueprints that I've created, And then I peeled away layers from the ends of those blueprints until I kind of cut back to exactly or close enough to what the planet needs. It ended up making those planets look a little funny, which I'll show you in a second, because some of them just kind of, you can obviously see where I did have a build and then I took it away, but anyways. So that's basically what ended up happening. Was the production on those planets is about as black box as you can get without actually doing like a legitimate black box. You can see, you know, I'm creating 7,200 diamonds, but I'm consuming up to 7020. And oh, I thought that was lower. Whew, okay. Some of them are exact. This one is exact. 1440. Some of them are a little bit more, but that's okay. That's kind of just because some of the machines ended up having a little bit faster speed than what would be what I could divide into. So I also proliferated a couple things. I don't remember. Yeah, some of the items are proliferated. Anyways, so that's what I ended up doing. And then at some point I was like, okay, well, one extra planet's not going to be enough. So I added another one, and then I kind of did the math and was like, you know what? With the home world plus 2, I can definitely tell that, you know what, if I wanted to aim for 20,000 science per minute, I would just need to double this. So I added a couple planets after that. And the biggest problem with doing that was waiting around for belts. Oh my goodness. So I did end up like increasing the... Where did that go? That belts is over here. Yeah, so I did end up increasing this to 20,000 just because I was like, man, I just need that extra buffer. I actually almost even considered making another set of belts just to be able to place those blueprints faster, because I think I needed something like 36,000. Okay, so I'm going to hop to one of those planets real quick and just kind of show you like what I did. Okay, so we're back, and yeah, this is one of those planets that is completely dedicated to creating some white science. So it is chugging along, and once I got to the point where I could actually produce enough antimatter, yeah, I ended up setting up this planet, and it was one of the first major mining planets that I set up. So it has completely been removed of iron ore, copper ore, silicon, stone, coal, whatever else might have been here. I don't really recall what all was here, but there is some titanium left, as well as some gritting crystals and kimberlite ore. Those will probably be here forever. I can't see them ever disappearing at this point because of the amount of vein utilization that I have. And yeah, you can see that power is, we are just at 100%. Alright, so looking at it, you can see, for instance, these are the titanium glass. And yeah, anything that I didn't need, I just kind of like peeled off to make sure that for the most part everything is doing its job, everything is functioning. There were some other situations, like for instance the graphene over here, the fire ice. I did end up removing the... what's going on here? Oh, it's just backed up. Okay, I did end up removing the thermal generators, so that it was kind of skewing my results because it was consuming graphene, and that was throwing off the amount of graphene that I thought I needed anyways. Yeah. So everything is chugging along. For the most part, everything is moving at 100%. Obviously, there are some situations where some things lag out or lag behind, but yeah. And I missed a couple things here and there, but whatever, it is what it is. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I ended up doing for, like I said, 5 different planets to get to the point where I could just kind of sustain white science on a planet. And if I had any struggles, like one of the struggles, for instance, that I had was here. I was struggling to get enough coal in, and so I did the same thing. I do have interstellar logistics vessels in all these machines, but it's largely unnecessary because most of what I'm doing is interplanetary, so I do not, or intraplanetary. So I could have just used the logistics drones, and that would have been plenty enough. But for the rare, or for not the rare, for the raw resources coming in, I obviously did need to bring them in from other planets. And for that, I did the exact same thing. I removed the vessels here and am solely relying on the planets that are shipping out the coal to deliver it to me. I might end up, I don't know if I can find the planet that I did this on nearby, but I did go to a couple of the nearby mining planets and set up way more ILS because I am capable of mining up so much faster now. Like, you can take a look at this and see that this thing is at 150%, and with how many veins does it have? With 12 veins, it is mining up 14,000 per minute. Like, that is absolutely insane. Just look at this thing going up and down. Yeah, and I can't imagine that I would be running out of any of this anytime soon. You can see that the total is not really moving. They're just dropped by 1. That means, or that's because for every one of these that is removed, I have collected about 2,000 here. So yeah, it just dropped another 1. You can see this is going to last forever, and even by the time it starts getting lower, I will have even more vein utilization. You can also see the speed at which the machines are moving. So they are zipping around. That is also due to the unlimited technology. I have level 25 of the logistics carrier. There were a couple of other things that I did too. I ended up adding some energy shield and some mecha core and energy. There were some achievements that I wanted to collect too, so yeah, I definitely took the opportunity to do that. After I set up the 5th one, this is probably the craziest thing that I did, and then I'm going to end the episode with this. So one of the craziest things that I did was there was a lot of downtime, like kind of waiting, because like even with this planet, before I set this planet up, I kind of wanted to have a certain amount of vein utilization because I was just going through resources so fast that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait until some of this dwindles down, and then I can start using some of these more empty planets that I've mined from, which is why I chose this planet. Ultimately, by the time I started collecting, adding to other planets, I did have to just bite the bullet and just start burying resources. It is what it is. Some of the planets I was able to actually use some more resources on those planets, but anyways, in the downtime while I was waiting for some researches here and there, I decided to take on the dark fog. So I've never actually done something like this before, but especially while I was waiting for the white science to get up to 10 hours of continuous consumption over 20,000 science per minute, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take on the dark fog. So I ended up going system to system and completely cleared out the dark fog. The dark fog is no more. The only place the dark fog is still alive is I left them on the neutron star, so this one does still have 2 hives as well as whatever's on that planet. And then the dark fog farm in... Nope, not that one. Sodalberry, where the heck is... There it is. So these are the only 2 systems that still have dark fog. Literally every other system has been completely wiped out. There is no dark fog anywhere, which was fun. It was a little boring at times, but you know what? It was fun. It was kind of a fun thing to do, right? Like, just... And I did that pretty much within the span of the 10 hours that I was waiting. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Again, the only real struggles that I had were logistics of like exporting things from mining planets. I did have to set up a couple of more ILS to bring in the resources from the miners fast enough to be able to, and you know, to be able to ship them out, I had to have more ILS. Let's just put it that way, which also included having more power. There weren't too many other blueprints that I created. I guess I can maybe show off a couple of them, and I will end up adding those to my blueprint book on my Discord server, where I keep all of my blueprints. I give them all away. One of them was a deuterium, if I can place it. Deuterium for the miniature particle colliders. That was one. I guess I could have just left it. Another one is I ended up adding an annihilation constraint sphere for the antimatter fuel rods, and then an alternate to the space warpers, which is pretty much just, as you can see, it is using the green science self-evolution labs and producing quite a bit more space warpers than the old blueprint. And I believe that was everything. And then I added artificial stars. I believe these are already available in the blueprints. Anyways, yeah, it was overall it was an enjoyable run. I think maybe the only thing that I would change about what I did was I would probably change up a little bit in the mid-game section. I would probably add in smaller builds rather than creating these like really large smelting monsters for the mid-game. I would maybe just do something quick that I just could slap down with the initial ILS and just get things going a little bit better. But overall, I had fun. I enjoyed it, and even ramping up to 20,000 science per minute was boring at times, but you know what, I would probably consider doing it again, or even taking this a little bit farther and seeing if I could go to maybe 40,000. I think 40,000 is the upper limit on the research area that I have on the main planet. Other than that, I would then have to start creating little hubs in different parts of the galaxy, which would be, for instance, locking off this middle section and maybe having a section over here, or maybe a section over here just completely dedicated to a different chain of different chains. Anyways, so that is going to be it for me. I hope you enjoyed the guide and maybe even this little recap to kind of show like where you could end up going with the game. And yeah, there is a lot more for me on the horizon. So I hope to see you in some of my future content. That's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.